Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of this Lacrosse Diaries. Today, I'm gonna talk about how to play as a team. Right? Playing as a team is crucial in lacrosse because lacrosse is a team sport. Now, the first thing that you should really understand, like deeply, is that great team consists of individuals, right? So your first priority, the priority that you always should pay attention to, no matter how skillful you are, no matter how good you are, is that you should practice and work on your individual performance uh, outside of the team trainings, right? This would be the best because then for the trainings, you already come prepared, you already come ready to just take this challenge and help the team be of a service there. So I would advise spending at least like 30 minutes per day with a lacrosse stick and know the basics, right? Passing, catching, cradling, scooping ground balls. Don't forget to use both hands as early as possible because the later it goes, the more difficult it is to relearn or unlearn some of the stuff. Also work your on agility and speed because this is crucial for every lacrosse player. Well, maybe not for the goalie, but still, we often change the roles, right? So who knows? Now the second tip for great play as a team is to set yourself that the trainings will shift more toward practicing of the team dynamics. So come to the sessions expecting less time for individual skills and more time for team exercises, except maybe for newcomers. Newcomers would definitely need to practice basics to properly join the team's dynamic exercises later. Now, the third advice to play good as a team is to actually know the rules of the game. So you probably do not know many rules yet, right? Just because we often dedicate ourselves to practices a very simple basics, plus there is a little game time, and we also do not usually have referees, right? Officials. Now, since we've got through the trainings for officials, we will have them for our games. Plus, the official games are coming. So, if I were you, I would go and learn the lax rules because then you would know how your performance, the individual performance, actually affects the team's performance, right? Because if you commit, let's say, a minor or major foul, you not only can lose the possession of the ball, but also can just go and sit on the bench for a minute or maybe a few minutes, and then your team is one man down or maybe several men down if you're super aggressive, and you have a very high chance of losing the ball, right? And also, there is a rule that actually is like in basketball, right? So there is actually a timer that allows one team to have a possession over the ball. If they cannot score within that timer, then the ball takes over to, or the other team takes over the ball, right? And knowing the rules is essential, so please spend some time knowing the rules. Now, the first tip I would like to give you is specialize. Specialize because every lacrosse team has attackers, middle players, defenders, goalie as well. So there is a need to specialize because if you are good at everything, you're a master of none, right? And at the end of the day, you'll be having a hard time always deciding where to go, and you would be it would be really hard for you to master basically all the skills. So if you already played enough games and you mastered some of the basics and or most of the basics, go towards certain specializations. So concentrate on, for example, defending or in fact attacking, maybe becoming a midi. If you want to still play both attack and defend, but midis already have their own some issues, right? Maybe a goalie, right? And you actually need to specialize to become a good team player because a team is always consist of individuals, but also their own roles. Now, the fifth advice, as I think, is very important as well, especially to the ones who are just starting their lacrosse games. Be not only ready to sub, but always willing to work your ass off on the field and sub a lot. Because especially like for attackers and for middies, they are often heavily involved in a lot of running. So as you guys run, you run out of, power, right? Just go and sub. Don't wait till somebody call you out and begs you to sub, right? This is not a good practice. Sub maybe every minute or so that your team is good. But also know when to sub, right? Because it's not good to sub when you are just on a fence, right? It's always better to sub when you're attacking. Um, yeah. Oh, sorry. It's not good to sub when your team is defending, right? It's always better to sub when you are on attacking and just taking over the ball and then going on full speed. Now, the sixth advice is to make sure you know the basics of communication. And there are, many, if you watch lacrosse games or you just study that, asking Google, there are many signals. Actually, we know some of them from our practices, but it's usually for defense. In fact, there are more. So there is, for example, a good goalie, right, should communicate clearly where the ball is because all of his defenders actually defend mostly people, not the ball. So when there is a turn in ball's possession, right, the defenders needs to know. So the goalie communication is always about shouting to other people, to defenders, where the ball is. For defenders, is shouting on ball, left, right, maybe slide or switch. So those signals allow others to actually understand what's going on and to best defend the goal, right? There is also the attackers signals, such as I'm open, or maybe you do cut or clear, or maybe skip or feed. There are so many of the signals that attackers can actually send to each other to basically coordinate their attack and learn them and use them. And it's gonna be really interesting to play when you are communicating because the team always communicates with each other, right? A team that doesn't communicate with each other usually is like just 30 or even 50% down on the progress. Midfielders usually use whoever communication they're close to. For example, midfielders on attack use attackers communication, midfielders on defense use defenders communication. So midfielders are actually quite heavy lifters, right? So if you want to become one, you should really think through about that. Now, the seventh advice I want to give you is to know the importance of positioning. So you have to understand this basic concept that not every place in the game is equal for the overall results of the game. Some places, some positioning are way better than others. Let me demonstrate it to you. So for example, let's take this positioning, right? So the attack has spread, right? So for example, for this attacker to stand here is definitely not good, right? Because he is basically covered by three defenders at the same time. So it's literally impossible. So for example, if this attacker has a ball or this attacker has a ball, to basically pass the ball in such a way that would not be covered by the defense, right? So if this is the case, this attacker has immediately has to step out of the zone. So either going behind the goal or going out here or going outside like this. Also for defenders, right? It doesn't make sense to stand like this, for example, because first of all, it's against the rules. And second of all, then the attack has a lot of space to basically try to shoot through the goal, right? But this is also called a walling, and it's actually prohibited by the rules, right? So there are way better places to stand at, and basically, for example, this play like this placement is way better because, for example, a person can be just dodging, right, and then shooting, or for example, this person can make a cut here and receive a pass from this angle, from this person, from this attacker, right? Receive a pass over there, or this person can make a cut here and also shoot them. So learn, or not learn, basically you need to understand that, for example, if you as attackers are all here and you have a bunch of defenders that are just here, you're practically useless. If you are just wandering around this area, doing nothing, just circulating back and forth here, you are useless. If you are covered, of course, if you are covered by the defenders. If the defenders are somewhere here, oh, this is the best, right? Because this guy can actually pass to any of you and you can shoot. So circulating here without like being covered is the best. But if you are covered indeed, be ready to just spread immediately. Go all the way, maybe to the X, maybe somewhere else, because then it will be good to get the attention of the defenders out of this zone, and then one of the attackers can make a cut, right? So all I'm saying is that positioning is really crucial, and knowing that there is a difference between there are better places at some games and there are worse places at some games, actually quite important. Now, the eighth advice is getting rid of your ego. In fact, the fact that you are not scoring, you're not like shooting through, and you're not cutting and doing all this crazy stuff that attackers do. This fact doesn't mean that you are somehow bad or useless in the game, right? Indeed, as a defender, you may be just earning your team a victory by properly defending. Or as goalie, for example, you you are there to literally set your team to win, because if you don't let attackers pass no, don't let attackers to shoot through you, right, and you catch all the balls, you're just unbeatable, right? So which means that it's actually important to understand that if you don't play attack, right, it doesn't mean that you're useless. Every player, as in football, as in volleyball, like every player has their own function, and they should love their function, and there should not be like an ego, which I would say, for example, oh, defense is always like standing over there, I don't want to be a defense, or goalie doesn't involve in the game. No, actually goalie is heavily involved in the game, but it's just in a different setting, right? So choose your role, but also get rid of your ego. And getting rid of your ego also is helpful when getting to the other advice that I have for you, is that you should set yourself for passing mentality instead of holding mentality. So when you get the ball, you should not be greedy for the ball, right? You should not be like, okay, let me just be with this ball for a while. Let me just, oh, I finally have the ball, so let me just wander around, cradling and stuff like that. Oh, maybe whom to pass, where are my best players, right? No, this is actually about, quickly going to shoot because you have a limited time, the limited time to basically have a position of a possession of the ball, and then being able to score. That's why when people are just getting the ball and then cradle non-stop, like just watching something and not letting other people to play, this is very bad. It's not a team play at all, and such players has to just relearn, rethink their approach, because in my opinion, they should not be really playing lacrosse much, because they are not really involved in the team. or maybe they are newbies, right? But then it's justified. But if you already experienced one, just play, allow others to play. And if you see that others are not opening, try to communicate, right? Try to indicate to them that they should open instead of just silently wandering around the field and just not giving the ball to anyone, right? Remember the time is ticking. So I would even advise you to not hold the ball longer than 10-15 seconds if you're not going to either shoot or like do some crazy stuff over there, but try to just pass around. And as the teammates who are around the person with the ball, try to open up, try to indicate that you are open, that you can be passed to safely. Now, my next advice is, as a team, right, have a planning session before the game. Have a planning session maybe in the mid of the game as well, between the quarters, right? Set the rules for offense, for defense. Talk your team through if you're playing zonal, or who subs whom, how you guys communicate, who is on the mission for something, who takes care of the stronger players, and so on and so forth. Set your strategy and tactics. As team players should definitely know what they are doing. If you don't set this up, they would be at a loss, and basically you would not be able to understand what's going on when you're already on the field working over there. Now, you also need to understand that you can actually pause the game for a while, just for some small time, but you can still pause and discuss something. So use these pauses as well. But I highly advise you to have a team planning session before the game, especially if the game is important. And then after the game, do the reflection. After each session of training, reflect. How did it go? What was good? What should be encouraged? What should be repeated? Especially that is related to a team play, instead of emphasizing team members' individual skills. Emphasize how the performance as a team was, right? What went not so good? What should be emphasized there as well? What were the weaknesses? What were the some strong points? What surprised you maybe? So reflection is a very important component of every growth, right? And you should definitely spend some time doing that reflection. And the last thing I want to mention is, please Google growth mindset versus fixed mindset and set yourself for growth mindset, because in lacrosse, growth mindset is very, very, very important, because everything can happen. But if you have a growth mindset, you will be able not only to reflect and grow and set yourself for a victory, but also you will be able to stand all those negative emotions and negative feelings that you might have during or after the game. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this session, and please leave any questions or comments if you have them after you have watched this video. Looking forward to the next diary. Bye.